now it's time to set off on your virtual journey to the ancient city of Babylon in modern-day Iraq.
Hello and welcome. My name is Jeff Allen. I am a program director for World Monuments Fund, and I've been responsible since 2009 for the Future of Babylon project in Iraq. Babylon is an amazing place, and today we're going to have a discussion. I'm going to introduce you to some of its treasures and take you behind the scenes of our work to preserve them from a variety of threats. So if you're ready, let's go. We all know something about Babylon. We know the name, we hear it everywhere. And it's a long and evolutional history of importance. And we know that a settlement existed at least as far back as the late 3rd millennium BC and continued for thousands of years. And some of the names of the historical past of Babylon ring to our minds, such as Hammurabi, Nebuchadnezzar II, Alexander the Great, and passing travelers such as Herodotus. And this makes a very, very interesting story, and one that's very complicated to interpret, both in your thoughts and of your mind, and when you're doing conservation work. Remember, at one point, this was the world's largest city. So it's an immense task and an immense and important responsibility for World Monuments Fund. Babylon was an enormous place. Historically speaking, the city changed many times. It's a city that basically sat along the banks of a river, a branch of the Euphrates. The Euphrates moved repeatedly. The city walls and the settlement also moved with it. It's a city that at one time was possibly the world's largest. And if I can give you an idea, is that it's probably, when you drive it, it's about 3 miles across one direction and at least 4.5 miles the other direction. So we're talking an enormous place. And one of the things that's interesting particularly is because it's existed for several millennia, you have layers upon layers of archaeological information. And those layers become very much a challenge when it comes to conservation work, because you have to make decisions about which ones are of importance, which ones are stay, which ones go. And it becomes very complicated to read as well. So one of the most challenging aspects for us is to think about the evolutional city of Babylon when it comes to its preservation. World Monuments Fund began its involvement at Babylon in the mid-2000s. And this was at the request of the then head of the Iraqi Antiquities Department for assistance from the US government through funding to World Monuments Fund to develop a site management plan. The importance of that document is that the site management plan was the foundation piece for the Iraqi Antiquities Department to pursue World Heritage Site status with UNESCO. Now, you have to also consider the history of Iraq in the last decades. And also, that means that for a lot of Iraqis, just simply doing a report and the process of creating that relationship, do that report with them in collaboration, was not enough. And we had to take some physical intervention activity on. So a lot of the work we were doing in the early years was cleaning up some of the modern inappropriate constructions that had been put into the archaeological site to restore some of its integrity. Now, the management plan and these early works led to our current projects at the Ishtar Gate and Nimmak Temple, 2 sites that are prominent, well-known, and both have their own challenges. So one, Ishtar Gate, which is a monument built out of fired baked brick, historically done in ovens. We're taking that site, and because of the fired brick aspects, teaching skills and knowledge that are actually beneficial, not just in intervening on other archaeological sites that have these same superimposed modern construction materials that are fired brick, but also a lot of those skills are transferable to the local construction market. So a lot of our people that we work with will need to get jobs in the future, and they're learning skills that will help them do that in today's modern Iraq. And the second is Nimok Temple, which is built out of sun-dried earthen mud brick. What we're trying to do is to revive some of the earthen architecture aspects within the culture. The origins of earthen architecture come out of places like Iraq and Egypt. And a lot of this understanding and knowledge is going to disappear if we don't invest in preserving it. So actually, the process of intervening at Nimok Temple, which is to remove a lot of modern inappropriate materials that quite often are baked brick and cement and things like that, and bring back its original integrity, is about bringing back and reviving the actual field of earthen architecture, which is disappearing in the country. And we want to invest in developing those skills and preserving them as a means of intervening in the future at other sites, and not just at Babylon that are made out of earthen architecture, but around the country at other archaeological sites. So you could kind of say that both sites are important, but really what we're doing is we're using and utilizing those sites to invest in people. Because long-term, that's how these sites will be maintained, is the learning or relearning, the revival of traditions and skills to preserve them.